Are you an alpha male? Do you, at 40 years of age, only go for the tens under the age of 25, not the used up, cum-filled whores walking around with the tits sticking out, screaming and cursing like a man, wearing pants like a man? If you answer no to that question, then you, my friend, are a beta bitch, and you disgust me. Okay, recently there has been a subset of men, if you will, in the American and European democracies. I find it interesting that, let me turn that light off. It's flaring. That's much better. A group of American men in the European and American democracies who go by the acronym mgtow. Now, what does mgtow stand for? Well, mgtow basically stands for men going their own way, which sounds well and good, doesn't it? After all, I mean, is it not well and good that men should pursue their own calling in life and not bend to the whims of society and subject themselves to the pressures and expectations of society? It's good to be nonconformist, right? I absolutely agree. But upon further research into this mgtow community, I discovered that these were not simply socially awkward men like Henry Higgins, Professor Higgins from My Fair Lady, who have decided that they would have no more interactions with women. They would not have any more dealings with women. They would shun women completely. They were not monkish men either, in the sense that they still enjoyed the company of women, if you get my drift. But these men, who are supposed to be a men's rights group, are some of the most hardcore, vitriolic, nauseating misogynists to ever grace the planet. Now, basically, the mgtow philosophy, correct me if I'm wrong, is built upon this idea of red pill and blue pill. Now, if you are a blue pill person, a blue pill man, for instance, then you accept that the matriarchal gynocracy that we live in, that you bend down to the whims of feminists and women altogether, and you deny the truth of female nature. But if you are a red pill man, on the other hand, that means that you accept the cold hard truth about female nature and men's and women's sexual value. So basically, they have this underlying philosophy behind all that that self-help pretense. They have this philosophy that they have a few key tenets that they abide by. For instance, a woman's sexual marketplace value, pardon the crude term, is between the ages of 18 and 30. Well, if you want to be generous, say 31. While a man's sexual marketplace value, on the other hand, is between the ages of 35 and 45, 35 and 50. Most of them think that way. Now, there's nothing wrong with thinking that, right? Except that, you know, when you think of a movement of men going their own way, you'd expect them to be, you know, to be simply doing their own thing, not minding what women think about them, la-di-da-di-da, you know, not giving a damn. That's fine. But, I mean, I couldn't give a witch's tit about what people thought of me, for example. But if you watch these red pill fellows videos, you watch guys like Matt Cross from 33 Secrets, you know, that 40-year-old pickup artist who boasts about dating 19-year-old college girls. Whew, are they angry? These men are angry with unmarried women over the age of 30, you know, age 31 and above. They are fucking livid. Now, on the other hand, women who go their own way, you know, like those feminists who say, like, I'm a strong, independent woman, I don't need a man, I know plenty of them, you know, especially those women in the corporate world, like, they'll say, like, oh, okay, well, I don't need a man, I can support myself, I can do well in my career, and I'll just do my own thing. But they don't get, like, livid at the opposite sex, you know, if a man says that he's not interested in dating women anymore, like the mgtow guys. You don't see feminists, women going their own way, getting really livid at these mgtow guys. But you see these red pill guys, they make a shit ton of videos talking about women, unmarried women over the age of 30, and they make a shit crap of videos, you know, trying to shame women who are over the age of 30 and still single, even though many of these men themselves are over the age of 40 and still single, you know. The hypocrisy just reeks like a piece of, like a tick. It just sticks out like a tick on a dog's ass, you know. Basically, you watch Matt Cross, you know, the 33 Secrets guy, and you'll see, like, almost that at least a quarter of his videos are, you know, cautionary videos to women, like, you better not wait till you're 30, because when you turn 30 and hit the wall, you'll find that all the high-value guys like myself will not be interested in you. We'll be going for the 20-year-old girls, you know, and you were one of those 20-year-old girls who kicked us in the balls when we were 20 years old. So, you know what they say, if she didn't want you in her prime, do not save her in her decline. Well, which 30-something-year-old woman ever wanted to be saved? This is incredibly condescending to women, and it's insulting to men in their 20s. You know why? If you follow this rationale, it presupposes the idea that 20-something-year-old men are simply undesirable to women, which is absolute bullshit, because, you know, there are heaps and heaps of 20-something-year-old Korean pop stars or rock stars that women would love to drop their panties for. And I would know, because in my 20s, well, I'm 30 this year, and I did not feel like in my 20s that I was ever like a piece of gum on a shoe. You know, I never felt like women actually ignored me, you know. And I'm not some rich guy with a mansion and a yacht and a Mercedes-Benz. I drive a Proton Myvi, for crying out loud. And yet, I could still get early 20-something-year-olds if I wanted to. You know, dude, it's not... Have you ever thought that the reason you fellas could not get a girlfriend in your 20s had nothing to do with the amount of money you were making? Because you were probably more wealthy than I am. You know, I'm just a poor school teacher, mind you. Now, these men, often they have this erroneous notion that dating a woman who is above 30 is a bad idea, because why has she not settled down by 30? That means she spent her 20s riding the CC, which is short for their term, the cock carousel. So these men, these red pill men, even though they like to think of themselves as macho alpha males, you can see that they still have, that their philosophy just reeks of the stench of incel, because, well, it's a common belief among the incel community that, you know, women are ignoring them in favor of more desirable guys, the chaddish guys with muscles, you know, and they have this idea, this twisted idea that a woman at 30 has ridden, like, who's not married, has ridden like 20 to 30 cocks, if not more, which is preposterous, because I know heaps of women who are pushing 30 who have never even seen a dick before. But I live in conservative Asian society, so maybe the cultural morass in my culture is a little different. But there are some universals but that we must accept. And one of those universals is that not every woman in her 20s is a dick-riding monster. I mean, not every single woman in her 30s was a dick-gobbling monster. Now, and not to say that there's anything wrong with a woman being a dick-gobbling monster, but these guys have, they got their heads screwed on in such a way that they think that they will only date these single 40-something-year-old men. A lot of them will only date women under the age of 25, because they assume that a 30-year-old woman is used up and a 25-year-old is more likely to be a virgin, which is absolute riff-raff, because I know 30-something-year-old virgin women who are attractive. I know people, you know, kids that, well, school kids that lost their virginity at 13, 14 to each other. So it doesn't say anything. Your age doesn't say anything about your sexual promiscuity. And to think that a 30-something-year-old woman who's still single has been partying and riding the cock carousel and is somehow, you should watch that video actually, is somehow damaged goods, that's more than just men's rights activism. That is outright misogyny, which is not cool, by the way. Misogyny is not cool. So how do people get red pill? Like, most of these red pill guys, for some reason or other, happen to be single older men. Now you don't see many young men in long-term committed relationships who have gobbled down that red pill. This uncomfortable truth about female nature. But it happens to be that a lot of them happen to be single older men who are calling women a decade younger than them damaged goods. Oh, the hypocrisy is preposterous. They just hold women to such higher standards than they do themselves, you know. They like to throw around this word, this word called, I don't know, the word hypergamy, which is basically the idea that women do not care about people. Women are always on the lookout for the BBD, the bigger, better deal. And therefore, a man should keep backup options. A man should not allow his girlfriend to go on Instagram or Facebook, because if a woman, for some reason, like Matt Cross said, if she decides to take nice selfies of herself on Facebook or Instagram, she is somehow expressing her hypergamy. Has it ever occurred to them that, some people just like taking photographs? Like, so people who took photographs in the Victorian era, not in provocative clothes, but, people who had their portraits drawn, women who had their portraits drawn, were they expressing their hypergamy as well? So, yeah, it's... Another thing is that these men, these red pill guys, they like to talk about the deregulated sexual marketplace, which basically means that women, unlike in past generations, get to choose their partners. Yeah, women in the democratic Western countries like America, Britain, and so on and so forth, get to actually choose whom they want to be with. They don't get match-made by their parents or by their societies. They actually have the autonomy of choice. And for some of these men, this is a terrible thing, because they say with this deregulated sexual marketplace, if women are free to choose whomever they want to marry, well, then they'll only get together with the top 20% of men, leaving the bottom 80% of men, the short men, the balding men, the skinny man, the fat man, all without options. Poor, poor men. But at the same time, these red pill guys will say, besides dating a woman under the age of 25 for her morality, for her keeping her virginity intact and keeping her legs closed, besides that, the reason they go for younger women is also because they want a woman who's hot, a woman who looks good, because quite frankly, most people, that includes men, don't look as good in their 30s as they did in their 20s. But to these red pill guys, men get sexier as they age. Yeah. Because apparently women, these experts in female psychology, women don't look at men's appearance. They look at his gravitas and social standing. But these men, even though they complain and whine and moan about the unfair state of things in Western society, that women only go for the most handsome, the tallest, most handsome men, they will not date a woman who doesn't measure up to their physical standards of beauty, even though they probably don't measure up to most women's physical standards of beauty. They're not exactly chads themselves, These are 40-something-year-old men. But point is that they, as I said, they seem to hold women to higher standards than they do themselves. Like, if a woman is still single in her 30s, then it's her fault. She's mismanaged her life. She's damaged goods. Stay away from her. But if a man is still single in his 30s, well, that's the fault of the deregulated sexual marketplace. And I've seen plenty of men in their 20s, enough men in their 20s, in fact, who aren't the best looking men, who are able to get an attractive woman. So basically what these men are saying is that because I have a house, I have a car, and I have a stable job, a good job in fact, I'm working as a banker or a lawyer or a doctor, that I deserve a woman. I'm entitled to a wife or a girlfriend simply because I have a house, a car, and a job. No. No matter how high your social status is or how much money you're making, you are not entitled to a wife or girlfriend, you fucking narcissist. This deregulated sexual marketplace simply means that unlike in classical Arabia or a third world country like Pakistan or what have you, or any other backwater, any other third world backwater dump, that women can actually choose to say no. They can actually choose to say, no, you know what? I'm not into you. And it's not unfair that you can't get a girlfriend, because getting a girlfriend is not a right. It's not your human right. It is a human right to be able to say whatever you like, to dress however you like, to practice any religion you like, or to hold any political or philosophical view you like without fearing persecution. These are human rights. And of course, it is your human right to get health care if you should be in critical condition. Doctors cannot simply refuse to treat you, because in any civilized society, that's your human right. Your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But in no shape or form is it your right to get a girlfriend, you entitled, malignant, narcissistic turd. The sheer hypocrisy and the sheer hypocrisy and audacity of it all. No, you want a girlfriend, you go to the gym, you learn how to talk to women, and maybe if you had a bit more respect for women, besides seeing them as childbearing sex machines, you might have a sliver of a chance of getting in a relationship without adopting the red pill, So, yeah, I'm going to make more videos about this red pill community, but basically, my point today is to tell you that if you have not joined the red pill community yet, don't. It's a toxic, misogynistic cult, and if you're a man who has just gotten out of a bad rejection or a bad breakup, their sophistry can seem very seductive at the time, because what they say about women, that women are heartless, women are hypergamous, women care only about their own survival, and women do not care about you, and men are love altruistically, but women love opportunistically. All this will seem very seductive to your ears if you've just gotten out of a bad breakup or bad rejection. Had I heard this kind of riff-raff after I'd gotten rejected, which I did, I would have become red-pilled straight away. Like, it's much easier to radicalize a young man who is in a state of vulnerability. But because my method, I mean, whatever I've been doing so far has been working for me, I don't really see a problem with the system, because I don't have any complaints about the current system. I think the deregulated sexual marketplace is a perfectly fine system. Even though those 40-something-year-old, balding, pot-bellied, red-pilled guys who only want to date young, attractive women will say that this is a failure, I don't think that this system is a failure. I think that, if men should have the right to choose whom they want to date or marry, so should women. And if you do not meet the standard of the woman you fancy, that's too bad. It's just too bad. That's life. You can either move on, or you can make yourself more desirable by doing a bit of exercise and grooming and what have you. So yeah, it's not a failed system, unless of course you find that you are disadvantaged. You feel that the system is being grossly unfair to you. But it's also, by that logic, an overweight and unattractive woman could also say that the system is grossly unfair to her. And she would, not to hate on anyone though. Anyway, I hope you get the point of this. It's not to shame men's rights activists and I think men's rights activists do have legitimate grievances. Like, a lot of more men are committing suicide than women. There are a lot more boys in school and university than there are a lot more girls, in school and university than there are boys, which is cause for concern. But you can be a men's rights activist without becoming a full-blown misogynist, which simply is not cool. I'm going to wrap this up here, and for every Chinese person watching this video, 恭喜发财!